What's happening, everyone? Thanks as always for passing by the channel, much appreciated. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new. Don't forget as well, please, to like and share the videos. Big thank you to everyone who's been doing that so far. You guys are legends. Well, that was a great night of boxing. I thoroughly enjoyed that fight. It was better than I thought. Billy Joe versus Canelo. Yeah, it was great to see so many people in a stadium finally. 70,000 people. It feels like we're not seeing that in absolutely years, because of COVID and all that, but hopefully get it over here in the UK soon, either with football matches and boxing matches, hopefully both. But I thought this was a great fight. The fight started out better for Canelo, I felt. He was certainly the more active fighter of the two early on. He was doing some fantastic work. Like I said in my preview, his head movement and his footwork were just second to none. He went for the body. He confused Billy with some feints. Like, Canelo he's just so fun. He's so good to watch, man. The skill level on that guy is just fantastic. I'll give some props to Billy as well, because he was taking it to Canelo. His output kind of, in Billy's output increased as the fight went on. So Canelo won a lot of the early rounds. I think Billy kind of, the later rounds, was coming more into his game plan. Obviously, Canelo landed that mean, vicious uppercut, which broke Billy Joe's orbital bone. I think it was around the upper cheek area, about here. There was some spite behind that punch, some real malice. I know that in the build-up, Billy was he was doing his usual shenanigans. He was talking a lot of smack, being the clown, trying to wind Canelo up under his skin, similar to much like what Tyson Fury did with Vlad back in 2015. But I just thought, it just ain't going to work against Canelo. He's just too he's very mentally strong. And it only seemed to motivate him more. I'm pretty sure there was like some radio interview where he said, I'm looking forward to hurting him in the ring. If Canelo's saying that, beware. If I had to critique Billy's performance, I would say it was probably due to lack of discipline, because there were a lot of moments, especially round 6 onwards, where he had his hands down quite a lot, he had his chin exposed. With that showing, it was only a matter of time before he got clipped. And like I said, with Canelo, he does hold a lot of power in them gloves of his. So Canelo knew the fight was over as soon as he landed that punch. Did you see him? He was basically throwing his arms up and celebrating with the crowd, because he knew that was going to be the turning point that would either lead to Billy kind of quitting on his stool, or he was just going to focus on that eye and then eventually knock him out, or the referee would stop it. So probably karma. But fair play. It was a really good performance from both fighter. The result as well, the judges' scorecards came out. I had it 5-3 to Canelo when the fight ended. Much the same. And I have to say, Billy Joe was doing well. He did some good stuff in there up until the injury. But Canelo's just too good. I mean, what a boxer he is. If Billy had some proper power, right, he would have caused Canelo so many more problems, because Billy's boxing ability and movement did seem to kind of wind him up at some point. I don't blame Billy for retiring on his stool, because if you're not fit to go because of an injury, there comes a time where you have to put personal pride and ego aside and think about your career, your family, your kids. That sort of injury, I think he did the right thing. That eye was it was vicious. You could see immediately that he couldn't see out of it. And a broken orbital bone can be detrimental to a boxer's or fighter's career. We've seen that with Kell Brook when Golovkin broke his orbital bone. Michael Bisping in the UFC when Tito kicked him. So I don't blame Billy for ending the fight. I think it's probably made him eat a slice of humble pie after the comments he made about Daniel Dubois doing the same thing. But I think Daniel did the same thing. I think he did the right thing as well. I read also that he had to be taken straight to hospital afterwards. That shows the extent of the injury. Again, that just shows it was the right thing to stop the fight. Because if that fight had kept going with the injury, I think Canelo would have just gone to town on it. Without it though, if that hadn't happened, would have been very interesting, because I don't know how it would have gone. Canelo was doing some very good work, but Billy seemed to be coming into his game plan, so there could have been an upset there. That just shows that with Canelo it's so hard, because like I said in my preview, he has everything. He has every skill, and he's faced every type of fighter out there, every skill set. So, prepping for Canelo, you've got a mammoth task ahead of you. So, fantastic performance. That's now 7 British. I was just thinking, now 7 British fighters that we've sent over to the US that have been beaten by Canelo. I think Billy Joe did the best. He was no Rocky Fielding. Rocky Fielding was probably the worst. Callum Smith, was okay, but again, he didn't really know what to do. So I think Billy did the best, but I think we're gonna have to send some more kind of cannon fodder for Canelo. All 3 judges had it on the scorecard as well, which I remember. It wasn't a surprise. Canelo was landing the more power punches, whereas Billy was kind of sticking behind the jab more, which is what I expected him to do. But he didn't always land. A lot of the time he was hitting Canelo's glove, because Canelo likes to have it. He has a very high guard up here, and he kind of does this, and he likes to, we've seen that when he did that against Callum Smith and against Kovalev as well, because Kovalev was someone who stuck behind the jab. Canelo knew if he can just avoid that jab fully landing, he can then go under and land some, do some good body work, which he did against Billy. So he's just so good to watch. So what next for both of them? I think Canelo's just going to want to continue this epic run that he's having at 168 pounds. I think Caleb Plant is the name that's being mentioned quite a lot. Caleb Plant, as we know, holds the IBF super middleweight belt. That would be a solid fight for me. I honestly think Canelo will just run through him, maybe even knock him out. Canelo is just levels above anyone at the moment. It's unbelievable. And what's mad about it is, thinking about it, if Canelo faces Caleb Plant in September and beats him, he will have unified and cleaned up 168 super middleweight in 3 fights. That's insane. If you think about it, Callum Smith, Billy Joe and Caleb Plant, he's unified 168 pounds, and then what next? After that, I think it's certain that we'll see him back at 175, because he's got so many options up there, because 175 is pretty stacked at the moment. He's got Benavidez, Dimitri Bivol, Joe Smith Jr., Jean Pascal. I'm not too sure if he'll go the Beterbiev route just yet, because I think Beterbiev is just so big and so strong, even for 175. That could be a fight that Canelo would take, but I don't think he could necessarily win, because Beterbiev's a bit of a tank. I also noticed Demetrius Andrade was at the fight and kind of calling out Canelo in the post-fight conference, trying to big himself up. It was like, dude, after your performance 2 weeks ago, you do not even belong in the same conversation as Canelo. So stick to your lane. And the same goes for Chris Eubank Jr. when he was laughing and mocking Billy for retiring on his stool. Like, don't get me wrong, I am not Billy's biggest fan by any means, but that's uncalled for. It's like, come on, you shouldn't be mocking another guy's fight injury. And plus, Chris Eubank Jr., who have you fought recently? At least Billy's getting in there with a pound for pound best fighter in the world. And if you look at who he fought a couple of weeks ago, I can't even remember his name. I don't think he's fought anyone decent since James DeGale, who was basically 1 foot in retirement anyway. But overall, a great fight, great action, great event. Props to Canelo for putting on another spectacular performance. He cements his place and proven once again that he's pound for pound the best fighter in the world. I don't think anyone can argue right now. The level he's on is just too far ahead. He dismantled Billy Joe in there. Kudos to Billy. Hope his eye heals up soon, and I hope that we get to see him in action again, very, very soon. I think a rematch with Chris Eubank Jr. is well needed. Here's hoping, But I'll see you next time, folks, and have a great week. Peace.